So I used to be Chief Meat and E-commerce Officer for Mondelez International, which is the largest snack food company in the world, which made me one of the largest media buyers on the planet. So what I want to talk to you about today is this idea of how do you grow faster growing billion-dollar business. What I began to understand, I've done a lot of work with startup and tech companies, and you begin to understand that what tech companies are really good at is identifying consumer behavior shifts and then creating what they call unicorns, fast-growing billion-dollar businesses based on those consumer shifts. And what large organizations are actually really bad at is identifying those consumer shifts, and even worse, at actually moving really fast to take advantage. So I began to think about how could you bring those things together? Is there a way to create more success? And more important, what can large industry learn from the tech sector, really learn that can create true business value? So we created a model. First, how do you hatch dragons? How do you identify emerging ideas fast enough? How do you have enough tentacles in the world? Two, how do you raise dragons? The challenging thing about large organizations is that great ideas get killed, they get crushed. How do you protect them? And more importantly, once they've grown to a certain space, how do you actually ride them and turn them into billion-dollar ideas? So we did an open call. We gave them 3 rules. One is we want the future in 90 days. You have to generate the pilot within 90 days. 2, we had guaranteed funding. 3, which was the most important, every single marketer who participates in this program actually has to go and work for the startup for a week. I think that building that sensing component inside your organizations, or even for yourself, is probably the most important thing, but also appreciating that if you work at a large organization, scale can beget scale. And I think we sometimes forget that. How do you ride dragons? And I'm going to tell the story of a brand that everybody knows, Oreo. What many people don't know is that Oreo was irrelevant 5 years ago. If you think about it, the last time Oreo had changed their campaign was 60 years before that. It was always Oreo, twist, lick, and dunk, mom and kid. And when we came in, I remember thinking to myself, whoa, I'm not 6 to 12 and I don't own a 6 to 12-year-old. Can you own them? I think you can own them. Anyway, but there was a print ad that was on a piece of paper that looked like it was all white and it looked like a quarter of an Oreo cookie swimming through milk, and it said Jaws, 1967. I thought to myself, wow, that's interesting. Timeline was the innovation that was coming out. And I remember a week later being in London, calling the agency and saying, hey, it was 100 year for Oreo. We should do 100 posts on Timeline. We should fill in 40 of them, and 60 of them we should let consumers fill in. And that was going to be our innovation using Timeline. I said, no, we're not going to do that because we're smarter than you, Bonin. Thanks for your input. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to launch 100 days, every single day, a post that was culturally relevant for what was happening that day. Pride was the first one of the most liked posts at that time. Zuckerberg sent a note saying, thank you very much. Because of the success of that small little Facebook post, that then gave us the confidence to do what we did next. It was the very first time buying a Super Bowl spot. I bought the Super Bowl spot. We also launched a War Room, and then ultimately, you guys are familiar with this, the tweet heard around the world. When the lights went off for the Super Bowl, we did that. That gave rise to us to say to the organization, we actually believe that we can transform this brand and make it more relevant. So my big message to you guys is from unicorns to dragons. Every single one of you sit on huge opportunity. How are you going to turn that into faster growing billion-dollar businesses? By believing in innovation, sensing it early, not letting it die, and then riding that into the future. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, from unicorns to dragons, and enjoy your dinner and your time here in Mexico.